John, I think this is a topic people have been waiting to hear you weigh in on. How are you tonight?
I'm well, Jason. How are you?
Doing well.
Thank you.
People are kind of taking note of the fact that they've given this emergency use authorization to the Pfizer, right? The COVID vaccine for kids 5 to 11. John, it's going to be difficult for us to get in depth on this conversation here on YouTube because now that we're living in an Orwellian dystopia where actual information is memory hold and nonsense is elevated, we can really only speak to our viewer sponsors openly on our patreon.com/I am John Cullen and Subscribestar and Patreon /crowdsource the truth. We're going to be doing our sponsor exclusive PM tonight. What can we tell everybody as far as what we're going to be discussing and the facts and details?
Well, again, we're just trying to figure out what the facts are. So this is not a show that you come to for facts, right? So if you're looking for information, you go to the CDC, or you go to the WHO, or you go to Pfizer if you want to get official information. We're trying to sort through what's what. And we're looking at different articles
Hang on.
and things
We're having something weird. Okay. Are you there? You good?
Yeah, I'm here. I cut my audio for a second.
But there's something weird going on, and it happened on David Hawkins' show earlier. I just tested the internet before we came on here. There's 900 megabits up and down, but we just got a little burp in the system there. Anyway, please carry on.
Sure. So one of the big concerns that Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General has and the FDA has, is around misinformation, disinformation, things of that nature. And I have the same concern. You know that in a lot of the shows that we've been doing, I express concern about people who think the virus doesn't exist and that kind of nonsense, right? And so we've been, I've got some background noise here, forgive me.
Yeah, we've been trying to debunk nonsense. That's one of the things that we like to do.
Indeed. And so I've seen a fair amount of it in just the last couple of days. And so in our deck, we're going to show people tonight what's sort of what's really happening and how it's being portrayed. And I'm seeing a lot of misinformation coming from the mainstream media. So
Exactly.
for those who aren't familiar, I post a lot of stuff on Twitter that says I am the map's daddy. And that's because the mapping system from Johns Hopkins is based on software that I helped put together about 30 something years ago. I can't wait till it's 33 years ago exactly.
But wait a minute. Did you have to have a custody battle with En Fang Dong?
No, so I don't think En Fang Dong was born back then. He's still in his 20s. So he hadn't been born when this happened. And Megan Ellison was, I think, 2 years old when we put this together, and she's already produced, Zero Dark 30. So wow. I've been posting these maps and things on Twitter, and I've been posting responses to Vivek Murthy, and trying to make sure that we're getting clear information and that everybody has all the information necessary to make intelligent decisions. I sure, as a parent, right, I have a 6.5-year-old daughter, right? So as a parent, these new developments impact me as someone who has a 6.5-year-old daughter who's a U.S. citizen.
What does this tell you about this young girl? She looks nervous to me.
Yeah, well, what kid do you know that liked getting shots?
Yeah,
none that I know.
It makes me sad to see these pictures.
So we can show the YouTube audience 1 or 2 or 3 of these slides before we go to our patron-only hour. Many of you may also be aware that, a lot of our videos have received strikes for medical misinformation. We're not providing medical information. We're not attempting to provide medical information or any information. We're questioning the information that's being provided and testing our understanding of it. That's it. So, for example, this is the Johns Hopkins map. This is what I mean by I'm the map's daddy. This system is something that I helped put together 30-something years ago. The implementation of this was done by En Feng Dong, a Chinese national working at Johns Hopkins who works for Dr. Lauren Gardner. The issue here is that China has less than 5,000 people dead, according to Johns
No,
Hopkins.
wait. I'm sorry. Is he En Fang Dong or En Shang Dong?
En Fang.
So this is a different guy?
Him.
That looks like him.
Entirely. It's not him. What do you want me to tell you? It's not him. It's En Fang Dong.
Okay, hang on. Yeah. We found him pretty easily before, but...
Yes, we did.
It seems to be not that easy to find now.
En Fang Dong.
We got this En Shang Dong, who's associated with John. Isn't that weird?
Ghosted. It's like he's been ghosted off the internet.
But I thought that other guy looked like the same guy.
There were a bunch of articles, No, it doesn't. No, he was much pudgier. We'll have to go back
Is it
to
ENFANG. That's the...
Yeah.
So who's this doppelganger?
I don't know. We'll have to dig into that in the next show.
What was the boss lady's name?
Dr. Lauren Gardner, and she always wears animal prints, usually leopard. Dr. Lauren Gardner. Yeah. And if you go to images, click on images.
But have we lost En Fang Dong?
Yeah, she's usually in that leopard print. That's like her favorite outfit. Yeah, this is the first pictures. That's not her.
I was going to say, I think I like this Dr. Gardner better.
It's a different person. But the second picture, the third picture, yeah, that's her leopard print. And she used to work at Cicero in Australia.
Dude, this is a serious deal. Where is this En Fang Dong? They've deleted him from the internet.
I wonder why they would do that after we published videos naming him and showing him. Anyone have any ideas why he would be ghosted off the internet after we published his pictures and articles and told everybody did this?
It was Johns Hopkins University that published his pictures. That made him a public
there were
figure.
Articles. There were a whole bunch of articles
world of research,
in magazines.
Right.
There were magazines from where he did his undergraduate stuff talking about how he did all this map stuff, and we showcased that on the show. Forgive me, the gardeners are here. They like to arrive at 7 a.m., so forgive me. So
well, anyway,
but so back to the net of this is that there aren't 5,000 people dead in China, and there aren't 10 dead in Beijing or Shanghai. And to me, this is the elephant in the room. This is the element of the story that Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow and David Meir and Sean Hannity, how do you not address this? How do you not address the fact that there's more people dead in Kansas than in China? When China has 1.5 billion people almost. I mean, it just doesn't add up. So to me, this is sort of the elephant in the room. And until someone addresses it, I'm not going to let it go. So let's go to the next slide. All right, bottom line up front, where are we going in this show when we go patron only? What are we going to cover? Let's go to the next slide. According to the CDC, the FDA has not authorized or recommended a COVID-19 vaccine for children under the age of 12. According to the CDC. Published? Look at the date. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So there is no recommended vaccine. There is no FDA approved vaccine. But if we go to the next slide, we'll get to the facts. What does Los Angeles County say? Can you read that to me?
It says, in case you missed it, Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine is approved for kids 5 to 11. Children may now get vaccinated at select, I don't think that comma should be there, walk-up clinics countrywide. Please call ahead to check availability. Visit vaccinatelacounty.com for info or talk to your child's doctor. That's November 6th.
So I responded to that. Scroll down a little bit.
Actually, it's not approved. So this post is misinformation. It is authorized for emergency use. Big difference. You should be ashamed of yourselves and also go back to school. You don't need a comma there.
So the fact that the Los Angeles County is telling the public that it's approved.
Seems like dangerous misinformation.
It seems that way. How is it that doesn't get struck? It's not approved. Now let's go to the next slide.
Oh, that's a good video right there.
All right. So I wanted to just take a moment and talk about this. You did this great show with Charles the other day called Incontinence Day. And the thumbnail was outrageous, and the show with Charles was fantastic. I think this was Wednesday, right? This was Wednesday's show, or was it last week?
Charles was talking about Sunday? Joe Biden's gross domestic product.
Yeah, it was last Sunday. All right, so it was last Sunday with Charles, and you titled it Incontinence Day. And this has, first of all, it was a great show. Second of all, the thumbnail's amazing. And but it has special meaning to me. So if you go to the next slide, I'm going to tell you a sort of an inside story that the audience may not know. Alan Kozlowski is the guy who ran a company called Pacific Post. And Pacific Post was based in Santa Monica. And they are the company that did the special effects on Independence Day. And his team won the Academy Award for that picture. Well, he passed away last year, just about a year ago in September. I think he passed away, and I had an opportunity to meet him. And if you go to the next slide, I have like 3-4 slides I'm going to share with the audience here. He was very dear friends with Jeff Bridges. They were best buddies, and Alan was in Ravi Shankar's band. And ended up as a photographer documenting a lot of Ravi Shankar's touring around the world. And if you go to the next slide, he ends up as dear friends with not just Jeff Bridges, but a whole bunch of musicians and what have you through his connection with Ravi Shankar. And Nora Jones is his goddaughter, was his goddaughter before he passed away, or still is. I don't know how that works.
Nora Jones, come away with Nora Jones.
Yeah, Nora Jones is Ravi Shankar's daughter.
Oh.
So Alan, very close to all these people. And if you go to the next page, you'll find out a little bit more. So Alan and Jeff Bridges, very, very close. He was an amazing photographer, and he shot with a Leica. And I know that because I got to meet him, and I got to meet him at his home in Koh Samui. And he had a beautiful estate. And if you go to the next slide, I have some background noise here.
Yeah, I hear it. It's a nice picture.
That's his house.
Wow, which one? This?
The one on the bottom edge with the darkest pool. The darkest pool on the bottom edge. Yeah, that was an estate. It's a multi-acre estate, about 2.5 acres, multiple buildings right on the water. It was spectacular. Wow. Yeah, so I was invited to a dinner party there and got to meet him. And this was during the Las Vegas shooting investigation.
Oh.
And he was curious. He wanted to know more about it. And so I was talking with Alan Kozlowski here at his estate on the coast of Koh Samui in Thailand, talking about the Las Vegas shooting as he was dying of cancer. So he had cancer at the time, and what wasn't doing well. And so somehow I got this invitation to this dinner party. He's the guy behind all the special effects in Independence Day. And it was his company and his team that won the Academy Award for blowing up all these buildings with the spaceship. So tip of the hat to Alan Kozlowski, very interesting guy. And the fact that he was really fascinated with the Vegas shooting story and wanted to know more. And he's a musician, man. I mean, he played with Ravi Shankar, and I got to hang out with him and play guitar for the guy. It was a real meaningful time.
That sounds like a nice party.
Yeah, it was interesting. All right. So rest in peace, Alan. So Vermont has more cases now than at any other time in the outbreak. But Vermont is the most vaccinated state in the United States.
Wow.
Uh-oh. Now, this saying...
is not... Wait, let's just be clear. This is not data that you put together.
And correlation does not mean causation. So this is from Worldometers, and Worldometers charts the daily new cases.
Where do they
and
get that
they're
information from?
from the CDC. So they've built the APIs to the CDC. It's really just a front end. That's really all any of this stuff is.
So an API, it's an application programming interface, and it's basically like a little plug-in to the data to just suck it right into their thing there.
Yeah, it's like what I do every day manually. They do it automatically.
Automatic.
They wrote program. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do it. They wrote a program to do it.
One of the questions we're going to answer, John, every time we do the show, I guess there's new people watching. I hope those people will join us on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/IamJohnCullen and Patreon and subscribestar/crowdsource the truth. But people always say, oh, why do you trust the CDC? You're showing the CDC information, and they just discount it and say they don't trust it. Tonight, we're going to bring it all together and explain to people why we've been looking at this information for as long as we have. I mean, we've said it a million times, so it's not like it's some surprise reveal, but it's an audit of this data. Whether we trust this data or distrust this data, this is the data that is being used to create public health policy. So tonight, on the sponsor-exclusive segment, you're going to pose some questions and present some information that might challenge people's understanding of why we're doing this. But I think it's going to bring everything together for everybody.
Yeah, and the example I come back to repeatedly is the Bernie Madoff story, because Bernie Madoff's company had entirely forged records. They weren't doing transactions. They weren't buying stocks and bonds. The whole thing was just not happening. And the guy who said that's what was happening was Harry Markopolos. But the only way to provide the documented evidence of it is to audit it. Even if it's all fake, you still have to audit it in order to demonstrate that it's all fake, right? And I think Charles would tell you the same thing. If you don't audit it, how would you know? Right?
What happened to Harry Markopolos? They would definitely have to have Sacha Baron Cohen play him in the movie.
Yeah. I'll tell you, he is a hero of mine. And I would love to have him as a guest on the show, because this guy is just an absolute unsung hero. As far as he stuck to it for 9 years.
Whoa.
And if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have caught Bernie Madoff. If it wasn't for Harry Markopolos, they would not have caught Bernie Madoff. He was the only one that just kept insisting, no, this is a house of cards. And without the audit, you'd never know. So it's the same response. All right. So that's Harry Markopolos, big hero of mine. I think Charles might know him through a friend or something. I don't know. But
he's definitely mentioned him. Yeah, I don't know if he knows him.
Man, if we get him on the show, I'd do some cartwheels. All right, let's go back to the deck real quick before we have to go Patreon only. And by the way, I wanted to say to the audience, you guys don't usually hear me talk about Patreon or Subscribestar. Usually Jason talks about that. But I noticed today I lost like 50 patrons this month.
Whoa.
So the impact
50.
of you, so the more like 60. So the impact of YouTube not allowing me to publish videos, saying that this one is hate speech and this is misinformation. And, they punish you and they don't allow you to publish. And therefore I've lost a bunch of subscribers. So for those of you who are subscribers, we're incredibly grateful. And if you're subscribed at, one of the lower rates, maybe you can afford a couple dollars more. That would be awesome. That's a lot easier than getting new subscribers. So again, well, sure. I mean, for those of you who can afford it, we really appreciate what you're doing. So thank you.
Now, real quick, John, I want to make sure people know that they can get onto the John E. Hoover YouTube channel. And even though there are certain videos that YouTube doesn't like to allow, is it not playing? No, it is. Why does it say 16 waiting? We've got 193 watching. Thank you to the 193 viewers who are watching on the John E. Hoover channel. John has also got a lot of his legacy library on there, so definitely subscribe if you're not on there yet. You can also watch on rumble.com/user/CS_the-truth. And John has a Rumble channel as well. It is rumble.com/C. I don't know how they decided to do this, but rumble.com/C/IM John Cullen will get you right to John's Rumble channel. So you can keep in touch with all the latest information, even if YouTube is trying to put us out of business. We got just about 5 minutes here, John, before we make it over to the sponsor platform. What do we want to cover before we go?
Let's pop that. Yeah, let's go past Vermont. So Vermont, for some reason, more cases now than ever before. What I'm seeing in the news and the press, this is USA Today. CDC recommends Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for kids 5 to 11. Shots expected to roll out this week. Let's go to the next slide real quick. I want to just bang through 2 or 3 of these. Right? New York Times. Small needles and short lines. Biden's plan to vaccinate young children.
That is the stupidest. Well, kids are smaller. You need smaller needles. Come on, man. The thing.
All right. So we're going to take a closer look at that. Next slide. CDC panel approves COVID-19 vaccine for children's ages 5 to 7. This is misleading. The vaccine is not approved. The vaccine is authorized. The panel approved going forward to the next step.
They approved the emergency use authorization.
Correct. Yeah. But the way it's being portrayed by the press is rather misleading. Let's go one more slide, and then we'll have to go to our patron-only hour. So this is from the San Francisco Mercury something. Isabella Garcia wrote this in Blogtown. In Oregon. Vaccines for Oregon children 5 through 11 approved by expert panel, widely available later this week. Now, again, it's making it sound like these got FDA approval. Let's go one more slide. Georgia, the Georgia Recorder says the COVID-19 vaccines are approved for kids 5 to 11. That is not true, according to the CDC. So I'm kind of baffled by this, because we just looked at the post from the CDC that said that it has been authorized for emergency use. It hasn't received FDA approval.
Right.
COVID-19 shots for kids 5 to 11 approved by U.S., says the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Approved by U.S., by us. They're talking about themselves.
Pfizer approved for kids, CDC. Lauren Neergard. So to me, this appears to be, I don't know, is this misinformation? Because the document that we have from the CDC and the FDA says it's authorized for emergency use in children this age. Now, I have a daughter this age, so this personally affects me. I have a daughter, 6.5 years old. And I read the Daily News, the New York Daily News says that CDC has approved the coronavirus vaccine for children ages 5 to 11.
And why are they rolling out a dead person on this? That's a weird picture.
Exactly. So that's some image. But as a parent of a child in this age group, if I'm looking at the emergency use document, and I'm thinking, well, if my kid had an underlying condition, like let's say cystic fibrosis, all right, she's 6.5 years old and she has cystic fibrosis. To me, an emergency use authorization, hypothetically, the emergency use authorization would be something I would look into and say, well, gee whiz, she's at high risk if she has cystic fibrosis at 6.5 years old. If she got this, she could get really sick or die. So she might want, and we might want as her parents, to get her that vaccine. But I'm looking at CBS News saying the CDC has approved these shots. And then it says Pfizer COVID vaccine is recommended for kids 5 to 11. But we just saw the CDC said just last week it's not recommended.
Well, it's recommended by ABC News, I think.
Well, but the CDC is saying it's not recommending vaccines for children. But
I thought they changed that when they gave the emergency authorization.
No. They authorized it for emergency use. That doesn't mean it's recommended.
Now, here's a question, though, because at a certain point, Donald Trump, I think, had declared a state of emergency, right? That allowed him to use that production whatever act. Is that state of emergency still in effect? Because then there
Yes.
would be an emergency. It is, so that's the use.
Yes. Well, and we're going to look at how do you quantify that emergency? And is the emergency the same in all groups? Is it identical? Right? So is this medical emergency that we've declared the same for everybody? Is it the same for a man who's 75 as it is for a woman who's 19? I don't know. We're going to take a look at the data and see what the data says. But right now, I'm just seeing a whole lot of news and a whole lot of press that is not accurate. CDC approves the Pfizer vaccine for children ages 5.
Not their
No.
job even.
And so it's not true, right? The action follows the FDA's approval last week. The FDA didn't approve it. So this is a bit baffling to me, right? So again, we're just trying to interpret what we're seeing, and I don't want anybody to interpret this as information or misinformation. We're just trying to figure out what's what. But when I read what I'm reading from the official site, we had that early on the show. In fact, I think you had the link up to the FDA thing that said it's authorized. Yeah.
Well, we're out of time
authorized.
here, John. Wow, I might even like this Dr. Gardner better. They got a lot of Dr. Lauren Gardners over there we're going to want to check out later. But people are going to join us in less than 5 minutes on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Big thank you to all the viewer sponsors that make the show possible. I know people are going to love this because John was tap dancing on the edge of oblivion right there, and we're going to dive headlong right into it. Actually, it's only 3 minutes, so get over to Subscribestar and Patreon. Join us there. We'll see everybody soon. Have a great night if you're not joining us, but